What's going on, everybody? TRAE4PAY back in the building, coming at you guys with the long-awaited Darrell Brooks sentencing. We already knew he was gonna get life. Like I said in one of my previous ones, it's good that justice was handed out, but I feel so bad for the families. I put up in a community post that I called a little bit, I forgot what it's called, but I saw where the families get to come up and talk about the emotional impact that this had on them. And I tell you, bro, I had to take a break from work because I was crying too much. It's sad, man. I'm glad once again this dude is getting justice dealt to him. And we're gonna go ahead and see what Judge Jennifer has to say to him. She finally gets to speak her opinion on the matter. Before we begin, I do have to say, if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Do all that good stuff. And that's about it. We're gonna go ahead and get it. Whoa, hold on. I almost went back. I can't believe I almost did this. Thank you all so much for 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. I started this channel 6 months ago and I had no idea it was gonna happen this quick. I always hoped for it, you know. I really appreciate it. I'm doing too much talking. Let's go ahead and get into it.
This is a case that falls squarely on the need to protect the community. I referenced this earlier. There's really 3 primary reasons for the sentences I will impose here today. One is punishment, one is to protect the community, and the other is to provide justice and closure to the victims. Because under that category of need to protect, the court does get to consider the impact of these crimes on the victims. I went through at length in reviewing all of those victim impact statements. I certainly didn't go through every single one, just highlighting some of them.
And just really quick, I know I always pause early. Somebody told me in the comment section that she was actually pregnant, or she is pregnant. Yo, that is crazy. I don't know if I touched on this already. You know, y'all know my memory's trash at this point. But that's messed up, bro. That makes this even crazier. And you know something? He probably knows it too. He probably knows full well that she's pregnant, but you think Darrell cares about a single person?
But doing so with purpose.
I can't wait to see him get this
12,000
years.
It is very clear to this court that Mr. Brooks has caused carnage.
That's right.
Mayhem. It has resulted in many people suffering from PTSD, from mental and emotional trauma that will take a lifetime to recover from, and for some, perhaps, if at all. You have taken away from these individuals future memories. They will never have birthdays with the 6 individuals who were killed. There will be no weddings. There will be no graduations. There will be none of the milestones that these families were looking forward to, whether it be for an innocent 8-year-old or an innocent 79-year-old. Frankly, Mr. Brooks, no one is safe from you. This community can only be safe if you are behind bars for the rest of your life.
Exactly right.
The actions of Darrell Brooks demand punishment. The community is not safe from your violent and criminal conduct unless you are in custody. You left a path of destruction, chaos, death, injury, confusion, and panic as you drove 7 or so blocks through the Christmas parade, never once stopping or seemingly caring about the wake of carnage that you left. 4 of those blocks were turned into a scene that frankly is no different than a war zone. On counts 1 through 6, this court is imposing a life sentence without the possibility or eligibility for extended supervision consecutive to one another. 1 life sentence for Virginia Sorensen. One life sentence for Leanna Owen. One life sentence for Tamara Durand. One life sentence for Jane Kulik. One life sentence for Bill Hospel. And one life sentence for Jackson Sparks. I've considered
Puts a smile on my face.
the enhancer,
The clown
and the
goes
additional
away
5
forever.
years that I could impose,
Put the clown in a
but I
cage.
don't need to really order that because I've not made him eligible for extended supervision, and it would only be to increase his time on initial confinement. But
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pause it like that because she was in the middle of saying something. But I was just gonna say, yeah, I tuned in when I was working and I saw, I don't know who her name is or what her name is, but it was one of the moms. And when she talked about like finding her kid, and like her kid had lost his life, bro, I could not stop crying, bro. I don't have kids, but I have younger, and I talked about this in some of the other videos. I got young kids in my family. Ones that, like, once again, I'm not their dad, but I feel for them as if I am their father, and if that makes sense. So when I heard what she dealt with, I couldn't help but just break down crying, man. And the other families, they talked about seeing that kind of stuff too. Somebody said they lost their mom. Another thing, like, eventually I had to turn it off because it was just, I was about to spend my whole work day crying, man, if I watched all of it. And I'm so sorry to these families. Once again, I know I keep apologizing, but this stuff is a lot.
make
man.
no mistake, Mr. Brooks.
It's a lot.
You
Like
use
this-
that vehicle as a battering ram. No different than, frankly, a firearm.
That's right.
On counts 7 through 67, these are 61 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety. These charges alone and these convictions without the enhancer carry a maximum of 12 and a half years. Because of the enhancer, a total of 17 and a half years. And under Wisconsin law, the 5 years is added to the initial term of confinement. So what could be 7 and a half years is a maximum of 12 and a half years. And I'd ask that everyone no longer show any reaction to the sentence so I can get through this. On counts 7 through 67, on each count I will impose a total sentence of 17 and a half years. 12 and a half years of initial confinement, plus 5 years of extended supervision, consecutive to any other sentence that I've imposed here today. That is 762 and a half years of initial confinement and 305 years of extended supervision on top of the life sentences that I've imposed. That is 17 and a half years.
I was just gonna say, I wish they switched the camera over to Darrell so I
Sir,
can see what he's doing.
for Nicole White.
Where are all the antics?
17 and a half years for Eleanor Andrews.
Where's the objection?
Anders, excuse me. 17 and a half years for Sasha Catalan.
Where's the subject matter jurisdiction? Look, I'm sorry I'm pausing a lot too. Somebody in the comments said that they want me to pause when I talk because they
Castillo.
can't hear me.
17 and a half years for Maura Gilchrist. 17 and a half years for Justin Gullickson. 17 and a half years for Harry Guilfoy. 17 and a half years for Aiden Lofgren. 17 and a half years for Theo Maza. 17 and a half years for Tyler Pudliner. 17 and a half years for Connor Tank. 17 and a half years for Eric Teagues.
Yo, did that dude always had a facial hair?
17 and a half years for Adelia
This has been a long
Montioli.
case. He grew facial hair.
17 and a half years for Kelly Graybow. 17 and a half years for Josh Craner. 17 and a half years for Riley Rogers. 17 and a half years for Caden Rogers. 17 and a half years for Tucker Sparks. 17 and a half years for Isabella Bartlett. 17 and a half years for Yaritzi Becerra Montez. 17 and a half years for Samantha Coelho. 17 and a half years for Madison Hollingsworth. 17 and a half years for Mackenzie Hollingsworth. 17 and a half years for Mitchell Lampine. 17 and a half years for Kathleen Pielmeyer. 17 and a half years for Julia Schleichow. 17 and a half years for Olivia Stover. 17 and a half years for Jennifer Stover. 17 and a half years for Jesselyn Torres. 17 and a half years for Alice Urell. 17 and a half years for Charlotte Urell. 17 and a half years for Vivian Urell. 17 and a half years for Grayson Urell.
Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. I want this to be my thumbnail. I'm surprised there's no subject matter jurisdiction popping off, but okay.
17 and a half years for Lola Hospital. 17 and a half years for Tamara Rosentreter. 17 and a half years for Betty Strang. 17 and a half years for Maria Alvarez Dominguez. 17 and a half years for Gregoria Romelia Perez. 17 and a half years for Elliot Hallmark. 17 and a half years for Benjamin Hallmark. 17 and a half years for Patrick Heppy. 17 and a half years for Lori Locken. 17 and a half years for Marisol Lopez Gutierrez. 17 and a half years for Adair Lopez Rubelar. 17 and a half years for Juan Marquez. 17 and a half years for David Marquez. 17 and a half years for William Mitchell. 17 and a half years for Jason Petchloff. 17 and a half years for Margaret Pachulis. 17 and a half years for Yamilet Perales Alvarez. 17 and a half years for Island Perales Alvarez. 17 and a half years for Ashley Perales Alvarez. 17 and a half years for Jose Perales Alvarez. 17 and a half years for Maria Perez. 17 and a half years for Camila Perez Gonzalez. 17 and a half years for Isaac Foglia. 17 and a half years for Deborah Ramirez. 17 and a half years for Charles Green. 17 and a half years for Lily Green. 17 and a half years for Brinley Harris. 17 and a half years for Kelsey Knapp. 17 and a half years for Owen Briciotti. On counts 68 through 73, which are the 6 counts of hit and run resulting in death, these are 25-year felonies each. The court will do the following. On count 68, a 25-year total sentence, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision. This will be concurrent to count 1. Count 69, the same sentence, 25 years total, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision, concurrent to count 2. Did I say that the right way, the first one? Okay. Count 68 is concurrent to count 1. Count 69 is concurrent to count 2. Count 70.
I'm glad she put him in the other courtroom too while they're while she's reading out the sentencing. Like I'm just happy he don't even got a chance to interrupt right now. I'm pretty sure for him to be over there, he probably interrupted, you know, because once again I didn't see what led up to this, but I would imagine he just started talking over her at some point, and then once again she had to put him over there. But I'm glad she can tell
25
him
years
exactly
total,
what he
15 years
what
of
he
initial
getting.
confinement, 10 years of extended
And he got to sit there on mute
concurrent
just
count
listening
3.
to it like.
Count 71, 25 years total, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision concurrent to count 4. Count 72, 25-year total, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision concurrent to count 5. And on count 73, a 25-year total sentence, 15 years of initial confinement, 10 years of extended supervision concurrent to count 6. On count 74 and 75, the 2 felony counts of bail jumping, the court is ordering a 6-year sentence total on each count, 3 years of initial confinement, 3 years of extended supervision, consecutive to all other counts but concurrent with one another. And lastly, but certainly not least, the maximum sentence for the battery to Erica Patterson, 9 months consecutive to any other sentence.
There you go.
To order anything other than what I have done, sir, would be to unduly depreciate the seriousness of these offenses. It is needed, although largely symbolic, given the number of years that I have imposed here today, because frankly, you deserve it. I know it's symbolic, but it needs to hold you accountable in a very real and tangible way. For all of these sentences that I have imposed, I will order the following conditions: no contact with the victims as identified in the amended victim key or their families, no contact of any kind with Erica Patterson. You are to pay restitution in the amount of $47,193.29 to EMC Insurance.
Yo, that's major though, because you know, that's his ex-girlfriend, but also I think him and Erica have a kid together. So therefore, he can't even really contact his kid, which I feel like that's going to dig even deeper. Which, like, look at what he did, man. I'm not going to sit here and act like he should have that privilege, because these families, they can't talk to their kids anymore.
Insurance company that's on behalf of the Waukesha School District, and $124,000, $220.65 to the Crime Victim Compensation Program. I am ordering DNA surcharges on all counts. On counts 1 through 75, it's $250. On count 76, it's $200. Those are mandatory under the law. I'm also imposing the domestic abuse surcharge on count 76 of $100. I'm also imposing all standard court costs on all counts. Although my primary emphasis is that restitution be paid before costs, surcharges, and fees, I will order that restitution, costs, and fees be paid out of prison money. In other words, that all financial obligations shall be collected pursuant to statutory provisions as requested by the state. That's frankly a standard, it's customary, but it will be in the judgment of conviction. And then pursuant to 949.165.
Okay. So, once again, I don't understand legal terms like that. But is she basically saying, and I know you guys will help me out in the comments, because there's a lot of, like, I'm seeing people in the comments that are attorneys and stuff, so I know y'all will help me out. But is she basically saying right now the assets that he had will be seized, and like they'll use those to pay back the money that she's saying that he has to pay right here? If you know what I mean. Like, if y'all don't know what I mean, I'm sorry. But is she basically saying the assets that he had will be sold in order to pay the amount that she says he has to pay right here? Let me know in the comments. I might be way off. If I am, please clear it up for me. But
I'll find that it is appropriate for this court to order an escrow account under 949.165 for payment of restitution, costs, fees, surcharges, and even for costs associated with prior legal representation or future representation under the statute. Mr. Brooks has been convicted of a number of serious crimes for which this section is appropriate. I will order 360 days credit as to count 1 and count 68. Only, all other counts, 0 days credit because of the consecutive
360 days credit.
nature of these sentences.
Hey man, let's clap it up for justice. Let's clap it up. Somebody in a community post attached like some places that you can donate money to the victims and to the community of Waukesha. I am gonna put that in the comment section, or I'll put it in the description. More than likely I'll put it in the comment section so you guys can see it. But man, this has been a roller coaster. I hope this can give the families just a little bit of peace, even though what this dude did, it can't be undone. But I'm just glad that he'll never see the light of day again. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you did something good for somebody today. Hope somebody did something good for you, and I will catch you guys in the next one, man.